age assessment casework, there's a lot of kind of little sub-requirements in this area. Just make sure you're hitting all those requirements and those sub-requirements. This is where John Nace's spreadsheet, Dr. Nace's spreadsheet, really would be helpful, because again, it kind of breaks all that down and turns everything green once you've hit all those little sub-requirements as well. So here's the broad overview. As you can see, kind of a lot of little indentations here and there for various different things. So let's jump into it. It's a total of 5 cases, and the breakdown on that is 1 child case, 1 adolescent case, and 1 adult case. And then the other 2 cases can be any of those 3 age intervals. Okay, so sub-requirements. We have to have at least 1 case that is not an ABFO case. So meaning coming from your own casework, your own, your own casework. But then there's also the requirement that you have to have at least 1 case be an ABFO case, either from the workshop or from the repository. So I'll kind of get into those 2 aspects here in a minute. So you can theoretically use workshop and repository cases to, you can max out the allowable ABFO cases if you so desire. So again, this is stating that you can submit cases from the ABFO workshop. You will get 3 cases maximum from the workshop, typically a child case, an adolescent case, and an adult case. So if you pass the workshop in its entirety, that's the maximum amount of cases you can use for your work requirements. Now, you will note that I just went through the overall requirements, and you have to have 1 child, 1 adolescent, 1 adult. So if you pass the workshop, you have officially met that requirement as well. So that's an easier way to kind of knock out getting 1 case in each of the 3 age intervals. You can only use 1 workshop case from each age group. So this basically means you can't do the workshop 2 separate years and get multiple cases through the workshop. It's 3 cases max, 1 in each age interval. That's the most you can earn from an ABFO workshop. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Essentially, the only reason that you would typically do the workshop more than once is if you didn't pass 1 of the cases, you can come back and do the workshop again and try to pass that age that you didn't pass the first time. So again, you have to basically, if you do the workshop, you're going to have to submit the cases at a level that would be appropriate for getting credit. That kind of makes sense. If you're not doing them at the level that is appropriate, we're not going to give you case credit for them, etc. This workshop is held in odd numbered years, along with the civil litigation one. So just keep in mind, we do alternate between the 4 workshops. So 2 of them are held on odd numbered years, 2 of them are held on even numbered years. If you successfully complete the workshop in any manner, be that 1 case or all 3 cases, you're going to get a case credit letter. Here's what mine looks like. It notes that I got 3 case credits. Here's what I got credit for. Again, keep the copy of this letter, X, Y, and Z. Make sure this is what you keep to submit, and this will show you how many case credits you got. So the other way that you can get ABFO cases is through the repository. You can use age assessment repository cases towards your requirements. However, you cannot get a repository case unless you have successfully completed the workshop and gotten at least 1 case credit in the workshop, or you have to submit 1 of your own cases for review. Again, this is to make sure that you can successfully complete an age assessment case, and the way that is the way that that is judged is if you passed a case in the workshop or having your own case review and make sure that it's at the level it needs to be. If you choose to access a repository case, you reach out to the ABFO Age Assessment Committee Chair. Again, they are listed on the ABFO website under committees, and their email will be under the diplomate listing, and state, you email them and you say, hey, I'd like to do a dental age repository case. They will then provide to you instructions on how to access the case and what you need to submit for case credit. You can specify the age interval that you want. So let's say you lack a child case. You can request a child repository case. If you go this route and you do a repository case, again, you're going to get instructions and you're going to be given a deadline for what you need to do and when you need to submit it. My tip to you is follow these instructions and the deadlines. The people that are reviewing these cases are doing this in their spare time. They're doing this without pay. And so, be respectful of that. Don't turn things late. Don't turn anything halfway done. If they have specifically requested certain things, make sure that you are complying with that and following that. If you don't, it again just kind of gives you a little bit of a black mark, and you really don't want to have those against you while you're trying to get these requirements done. There is a maximum of 2 repository cases that you can use for your requirements. So keep in mind that you need 5 age cases. So theoretically, you can get 5 cases by doing the workshop and getting 3 cases there, and then 2 cases through the repository. However, actually, we'll go to this slide because that's basically what that states. You again can get your 5 cases that way, but you are still going to have to do 1 case that has no tie to the ABFO in any way, because you cannot submit an ABFO case for review as part of your application. We'll cover that here in a minute. If you're really struggling to get age assessment cases and struggling to get your own age assessment cases, one tip I have is if you're working with an ABFO mentor or you have a supervising forensic dentist, ask to do an age assessment for an ID case. Typically, you'll have all the records you would need for that. You even typically have a birth date, so you can kind of check your age assessment against the known age. So that is one way, and there are plenty of diplomates that will allow you to do that. For ID cases, they would just need to review the report and then sign off on the case on the summary sheet. So just like the ID cases, there is an age assessment casework summary sheet. Again, they will have to be signed off on by a representative from the jurisdiction. And if you will fill this out as you go and get signatures as you go, it makes things so much easier. Here's what an example of that looks like. You will notice, there's dates here for when the records were collected. Here's the jurisdiction. These are the 3 workshop cases that I just listed, ABFO and where the workshop was that year. The case numbers are there for the ABFO, just DAA will work. Were you the primary investigator, meaning did you complete the actual age assessment? Were you the one that did the age assessment and collect the records and that sort of thing? Yes. Case type, this is the age interval that it's in, child, adolescent, or adult. And then is this the case that you're going to submit for review? You really should only have 1 yes in this column, and the rest of them should be no. And then again, signatures from whoever is the appropriate person to sign off of them in the jurisdiction that you did them for. As with ID, you are again going to have to submit 1 age assessment case in full. So the official request stating, what they want you to do with the age assessment, any charting that's done, any radiographs that are taken, any work product such as like a Photoshop file where you've kind of adjusted the image to better stage, or if you used quick sheets, that sort of thing. All of the components of the case that you used for completing the case. Again, this is where I state that even though you can get 5 age cases through the ABFO, you're still going to have one case be your own case because you can't submit an ABFO case, workshop or repository. So you can still get five ABFO cases and then just use one of those cases in your additional casework requirement. So as I said with age, pick a case that really showcases your skills. If you only have one case that comes from your own casework, then you're kind of limited. But if you have multiple cases that were from your own casework, pick a case that has multiple techniques so that can really show your understanding of dental age assessment.